ותחמי על יד בן ישי ותלקמים קורבה אל נפשי גאווה לך דודי לקראת קלה יבבה בשבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה יבבה בשבת לקבלה התעוררי כי באורי קומי אורי שדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך בגלל לך דודי לקראת קלה יבבה לשבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה יבבה לשבת נקבלה הולך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה הדודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקלמי מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי בך יחסו אני עמי ונבנתה עיר אל תילה והיו למשיסו שועשייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהי כבשוש נתן על קלה הולך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי האיש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגידה הולך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה הולך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה ובשלום עטרת בעלם גם בשמחה ובתהילה שבת be seated if you wish. How you doing over there, Alex? Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. How are the mosquitoes over in your neck of the woods? Okay. I thought we had some of those devices.
You're gonna see me on a white with a lot of hand sanitizer.
Oh, okay. Do we have any of those devices?
No.
We don't have any of those devices. I've heard there's this device that just makes them go. It's like a mosquito chasing robot, which you started before Shabbat. It's all good. All right. So before we conclude Kabbalat Shabbat, we have one more psalm. That's on page 23. Page 23. So Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Just as a song that was taught to me by one of my teachers. Just the first couple of lines where we remember that it's good to acclaim God. It's good to thank God. It's good to just notice and shout out to God. And we sing God's praise all the time. And it's especially speaking of God's loving kindness in the morning. And then when we go to bed at night, speaking of God's faithfulness throughout the day. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. One more time. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Oh, lehagid bavoker chasdecha, lehagid bavoker chasdecha, ve'emunatcha b'leilot, ve'emunatcha b'leilot, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Lehagid b'boker chasdecha, lehagid b'boker chasdecha, ve'emunatcha b'leilot, ve'emunatcha b'leilot, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Shabbat Shalom, everybody, once again. For those of you who just joined us or joined us since the last time I said Shabbat Shalom, really glad to see all of you here and there and everywhere. Really glad to have people celebrating this time of the week with us. And sometimes Shabbat can't come soon enough. I don't know if you've had that kind of week. It's been all right. We had a kind of a cliffhanger from last week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion, by the way, I'll do this right. Thank you. But this week's Torah portion is Pinchas. And Pinchas is the name of a guy that we met, or at least observed in prominence, at the end of the last Torah portion. Last week I made it sound like it was all about the talking donkey. That's just my favorite part of Parashat Balak. My least favorite part of Parashat Balak, and you'll see why, happens at the very end of the Parsha. There's a wonderful story about Balak, this soothsayer from another people who sees us, and even though he's charged with cursing us, he blesses us, and it all works out for us. And as we go on, we have, I guess you could say, some internal strife, and God was reminding us that, if you should really, in relations, be careful not to form or encourage relationships with people who might lead you off the path that you're on. And apparently this was happening quite a bit. And one particular person named Pinchas sees two people in relationship, one of whom might be being led astray by the other one, and he takes it upon himself to execute them. And it says, because of all of this cohabitation, because of all of these unhealthy relationships, as they couched it, there was a plague among the people. And as soon as Pinchas executed this couple, the plague went away. And then it stops right there. And that's unusual. And what's unusual about that is usually a parsha doesn't stop with, and 24 people died that day, or 24,000 people died that day. Usually the parsha likes to end on a high note. And so rabbis were kind of scratching, well, why did they end it there? Because the story of Pinchas is not over. Once we get into this week's parsha, Pinchas is praised. He's celebrated. God says, because Pinchas was zealous for my cause, I'm going to bestow upon him a special honor. It says God is going to bestow upon him what God calls Briti Shalom, my covenant of peace. And then Pinchas is made into a priest, a high priest, a very important office. It's going to keep him busy, hopefully get him out of the zealotry business. And this has been interpreted many ways. It says, well, on the one hand, those who kind of favor Pinchas's actions in his extreme zeal for following what God wanted, he's given a promotion. They see this as a reward, right? If somebody's going to be so zealous for the Lord, of course, this person should be a priest. And there are many in our tradition who are troubled by their Torah, our Torah, rewarding violence. And they notice that in the second verse of the Parsha, the word in Pinchas, when they write Pinchas's name in the Torah scroll, the Yud, which is usually kind of a small letter anyway, is in the scribal tradition is a little bit smaller. And they say this just goes to show you that when someone does violence, even with the best intention, they are diminished in some way as a person. Right? This isn't our judgment on them for having been in a situation to do violence. This is their own sense of being diminished a little bit. And one commentator had said, this is sort of my favorite take on this, is that while it looks like God was giving Pinchas a promotion for his act of zeal, this was actually kind of a channeling and an inoculation of the community in a way, because they thought, okay, Pinchas was acting out of the intention to restore order according to God's revealed intentions. Don't care for his methods. So because he was, very publicly zealous for God, punishing him right now doesn't seem right. Although, by customs at the time, he might have been chased down by the family of the people that he killed. and he needed to be sequestered for his own safety. But also, the idea is that, okay, if we take this violent person and we put him in charge, I'm oversimplifying a bit, but if we put him in charge of sacrifices, we'll keep him busy with that kind of violence and keep him out of the police business. We'll keep him out of we'll keep him out of this kind of taking it upon himself to act as an extrajudicial executioner. And so our experience with Pinchas is a little bit complicated. People have seen this story and read into it different things. What I want to give you tonight is this opportunity. Because again, I want to give Pinchas the benefit of the doubt that what he did was out of his best intention. There's a psychiatrist, Milton Erickson. I think he coined this phrase originally, although I've heard it in a lot of different places. Every behavior starts out with a good intention. It's kind of hard to get your mind around, especially when you think of other people's behavior, right? You know, if somebody somebody cut you off in traffic, well, maybe they're on their way to the hospital, or maybe they think they have something very important to do, right? Nobody is the villain in their own story, and nobody's trying to be the villain in your story. They're acting out of what was the best intention for them at that time. That doesn't mean everybody gets to do what they feel like, because their intentions were good. There's a particular road paved, I think, if you've heard that story. But so God recognized this intention and then channeled it for the good of the people. And that lets us look inside and maybe look back and say, what's a thing that I did that if I was in this situation again, I don't think I'd do the same thing. But I know my intentions are good. It's almost axiomatic. When I did it at the time, my intentions were for the best. But looking back, it was the wrong way to, dare I say, execute that intention. And so, is it possible to look upon that thing that you did that you would do differently and remember the intention behind it and think, okay, that intention was good, and I'd like to continue to have my intentions be good. How do I channel that in a different way? So I want to give you a few moments, and if closing your eyes helps you think, feel free to do so. Think about something that you wish you could take back. Think about something you would do differently today. I don't want you to dwell on that to judge yourself for it, because you probably already judged yourself for it before, and you don't need to keep doing that. Once was enough. But think about the intention that you had in mind when you did that thing. Look for the good intention behind it. And when you find that good intention, bring it forward, bring it to this present moment and say, how would I follow through with that intention now? How would I follow through with that intention tomorrow? What is the absolute best thing I can think of to do based on the same intention? And once you channel that intention into the best possible action, then you take what you've learned and you add holiness to the world. And I like to think that's why the Torah left Pinchas where it was, so that we could come back to it this week and begin a great Parsha, which has some wonderful elements of women's rights, and a lot of talk about the holidays, which is nice. And think about how you're going to fulfill that old intention in a new way. Shabbat Shalom, and thanks for being with us here at PJTC. Right. You can open your eyes now if you want to. You don't have to. We're going to continue this service with the Baruch Hu on page 28. It's our call to blessing. If you want to rise in body or in spirit, east is that way. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavir ben yom umevi laila. Adonai tzevot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, amari v'aravi. You may be seated if you wish. We continue with the blessing for the constancy of God's love. Ahavat Olam on page 29. Page 29. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, Shovenu Kumenu, Nasiach bechukecha, V'nizbach b'divrei Toratecha, U'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu be'orech yameinu, be'orech yameinu, u'behem neged yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. Avarcha taseh mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. Continue at your own pace in the middle of page 30. We'll get back together for the next paragraph in just a minute. Shemayim haaretz. Join together at the top of page 31, page 31. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Daber el bnei Yisrael, v'amarta alehem, v'asu lehem tzitzit, al kanfei lidehem ledorotam, v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf petil techelet, v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto. Uzkartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam ve'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem asher tem zonim acharechem leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kadoshim lelochechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeti etchem be'eretz Mitzrayim Lior lechem lelochim ani Adonai Elohechem amen. On page 32, page 32. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה בני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך בימים אדוני מי כמוך נדע בקודש תורה תהילות עושה פלא מהותך Adonai Yaakov, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה, אדוני גא ישראל. Page 33, help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace and guide us with your good counsel. Hashkivenu, page 33. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'avidenu malkeinu lechayim. Lord Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Val Kol Amo Yisrael, Val Yerushalayim. Page 34 at the top. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וילבש. ויתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ואמן דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחיי כל וביום וכון, וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי.
יתברך
יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם ביומה ואמרו amen. We rise in body or in spirit for the Amidah on page 35b. This is a private Amidah. Pray the prayer on the page and or the prayer in your heart. When you're finished with your own prayer, you may be seated and we'll get back together in just a little while. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. We complete the Amidah with the Kaddish Shalem on page 48. Page 48. יתגדל ויקרא שמי רבה, ואלמד דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולם מעלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם וינשא, ויתהדר ותעלה ותהלל שמי לקודשה, בריחו לעילמים כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בימיו ואמרו, אמן. תתקבל צור הון ובעתון לכל ישראל, קודם ובהון ובשמיא ואמרו, אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו, amen. We rise for Elenu on page 51. Page 51.
שלא עשנו להצות ולא שמנו כשכל אדמה, שלא שמתנו כהן וגורלנו ככל המורם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
נגעתי בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Before we conclude our service, it's appropriate to pause and remember those who are no longer with us. Here at PJTC this week, we're marking the Yahrzeit, that is the anniversary of the passing of several people, including Rose Altshuler, Zvi Barheim, Grace Calderon, Bill Dreschner, Gustav Victor Fleischaker, Neil Handler, J. David Hoffman, Yetta Hollander, Ruth Kaplan, Harry Coase, David Kristen, Fritzie Lerner, Janice Lipton, Valley Lowenberg, Jeanette Lorber, Ray Miller, Sydney Murray, Juanita Erlene Murray Wesson, Bess Pemstein, Selma Pepkowitz, Marie Rogler, Ellis Seligman, Anna Sirota, Julian Snyder, Edward Solomon, Martin Spellman, Art Taus, and Miriam Vigo. If you have another name that you'd like to honor, please hold that name in your heart or say it out loud wherever you are. And if you're in mourning this week or marking a yard site, I invite you to rise and say the Mourner's Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah. Ba'alma divra kirute v'amlik malchute v'chayechon uvyomechon u'chaye dechol beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam v'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha rihu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Now I'll ask everybody to rise. We're going to end this service as we began, and that's in Sweet, Sweet Song. And if you know this one, I hope you'll join in. If you don't know this one, give it a try. And make sure you stick around for Kiddush, would you? Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Good Shabbos, everybody. Thank you for joining us at PJTC. I'm going to make my way over here for Kiddush. And let's see, we have some cups of wine and juice over there if you want to join me for Kiddush. Michelle, can I volunteer you to pass those out? Oh, no, you're on drums. Josh and Christine, we got one each for wine and juice. I'm going to go over here. Keep it going, Matt. We'll set up these going. All right, everybody's got a cup of needs a cup. At home, go grab whatever it is you celebrate with. And let's see. How does this one go again, Michelle? Vayera vayvoker yom hashishi, vayhulu hashamayim va'aretz v'kol tzevam, vayhal Elohim vayom hashvi'i, v'lakto asher asa, vayishbot vayom hashvi'i mikol v'lakto asher asa, vayvarek Elohim et yom hashvi'i, vaykadesh oto, ki bo shabbat mikol v'lakto asher Elohim asot tzavri mishpati. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yavav ratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'maaseh Bereshit, ki hu yom tehila v'mikra'e kodesh. Zecher letziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'chavta, v'tanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabat kodshecha, v'ahava u'ratzon hinatanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat. So I'm going to do a Netilat Yadayim on behalf of everybody here. Anybody who wants to come wash their hands can do that in a little bit. Those at home who wish to wash as you wish. There's a custom that because the hand washing and the challah, those are sort of two complementary mitzvot, because they're sort of done together, we don't break for conversation between the two. Now, you seem like nice people. We probably weren't going to have a conversation anyway. But that's what the cookies are for, so make sure you stick around for that. And so we're going to do Netilat Yadayim and go right into making mozim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Netilat Yadayim.
Amen. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
How'd I do, Rabbi?
Fantastic.
Fabulous.
So speaking of fantastic, there's some challah over there for you as well, made by our very own Michelle Browning. Now you can talk to each other.
Catherine's very excited.
Nice job, Kenny. Nice job.
I know, right? You won't? I will. I got you. I got you.
It's just awesome drums to make a good job.
I got you. I got you.
Hey, Alex. There's an extra microphone.
Actually, that's the only thing we don't have. That's the only wireless port.
Really? You don't have this here.
Everything's outside. So all the wireless mics we have is all tight.